I suppose also as well, that's also the context in which things like the Antikythera mechanism were found as
Yes.
well. So accidental losses, shipwrecks, so on and
But
so
we know
forth.
what that was for. Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
time travel, and he didn't factor in tectonic plate movements.
Know about continental drift? You couldn't have.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
It's
Unbelievable.
okay. I just pretend the last two movies just didn't happen. That's all.
Do you know what? We should talk about that in a future episode because I'm happy to make a defense of them.
You really want to make a defense of the alien one?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
A crystal skull? Okay, Mark, let's hear it. No, you open the box. You're going to shut it. I want to hear this defense of Crystal Skull. Right. Forget about Dial of Destiny. I want to hear the defense of Crystal Skull right now. I want to hear the defense of Indiana Jones in the refrigerator right now. That is what I want at this very moment.
Okay,
Please tell me how he
okay.
survived a nuclear blast and didn't end up as
No,
mush
no, 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 no,
after
no, no, no,
flying.
no, 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 no. And let's hive this off, shall we? Let this will be its own little section. We'll because this might take a moment. This might take a hot minute. So no, we're not.
I have my tea.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here to defend the fridge. I'm not here to defend the fridge. Um, I think the fridge is as silly and amusing and uh, Buster Keaton-esque a gag as using a an inflatable uh, raft to jump out of an aeroplane and survive, as in Temple of Doom. I think it's along those lines. It's silly. It's over the top. My defense of and the reason why I count these things as canon is because first of all, the life of Indiana Jones as a fictional character, and therefore the canon, has been very carefully managed throughout his existence as a character, very carefully, by year, and in that sense, gaps in his life have been identified where stories could happen. This really came to my attention with the Lost in the Diary of Indiana Jones journal, which I have on a bookshelf over there, where in fact I shall grab it.
I just want to say, while Mark is gone, I do consider the game canon because the game is fantastic. The
Oh
new one
yeah,
that just came out.
yeah, and obviously I need to
I consider all the games canon, but specifically the last one. Yeah.
and obviously I need to finish playing it. So in this journal, which in world was confiscated by the FSB, the Soviets. There are. It starts out in the time of the Young Indiana Jones TV series. So it has
Also canon.
it has the original cover that turns up in that show. It has him with Sean Connery as his dad there. It has
Indiana, let it go. No, Dad, it's right there. You never
ac-
cared for me as a child.
actually, I was an excellent father. Um, him
But
meeting
this is
people.
a defense of his character. This is not a defense of the erroneous discoveries.
No, no. Well, hang on. Uh,
Okay.
meeting Theodore Roosevelt and so on and so forth. Notably, there are also pages torn from the diary, which the Russian notation notes is from a time when Dr. Jones was traveling to Ceylon, according to his passport, which coincides with the events of the 2003 computer game Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, which in turn sets up the events of the second movie, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In that sense, his whole life is a carefully managed sequence of events, a timeline and a canon that I don't think we should be too quick to cherry pick. And it also leads to lovely moments of pathos when character implications loop back around on Indiana Jones's life. And in that TV show, there's a point when he comes across a bunch of veterans from the Boer War, and they're all grizzled, they're all cynical, they're all basically where Indy ends up in Crystal Skull. So actually, in the round, it's actually a nice sort of echo, as Mr. Lucas would say, it rhymes. And
It's like poetry.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Again, it's like poetry, sort of they rhyme.
And here we see the exact moment where I'm thinking Mark is off his jump.
It's quite nice to see Indy go through the First World War, go through the Second World War, have issues with being treated like a potential spy by the CIA, etc. And also as well, not only in terms of a canon defense is there something nice there, but also the film is appropriate for the time when it's filmed. So it's set precisely at the right time to make it about aliens and make it about Roswell, make it about that sort of B movie, because it's when all that stuff was happening. It's when atomic testing was going on, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate what they were going for. There's also this gem of a moment when Indy finds himself teaching in the library and recommending as reading material Real-World Archaeologist via Gordon Child.
Read Vera Gordon Child on diffusionism. He spent most of his life in the field.
I want to be a good archaeologist. You gotta get out of the library.
I do think, though, Crystal Skull does. There are two things that I think it commits almost unforgivable sins in terms of storytelling. Almost unforgivable, if not actually unforgivable. But so the first one is actually the lost city. When they get there, why are people living in the walls? Why are people just like crusted into the walls, and then when other people turn up, they sort of come out of the walls, and there's no sense of people actually living.
Aliens. Aliens. We need Frederick here, so I can just go aliens.
There's no sense of people actually living there, and it becomes a set piece. It's simply a moment on a roller coaster, which feels less authentic than, for example, the Indian village at the beginning and end of Temple of Doom. If you're portraying for entertainment purposes a novel community, they didn't do a good job. The second, and this is the actual unforgivable sin of Crystal Skull, is that they show you the denouement without Indy being present. So in the first film, Raiders, he is there when they open the Ark.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't look at it, Marion." And but nonetheless, he's there, and therefore we have a reason as the audience to be there and to witness what he feels. In the second movie, which in canon happened before the first movie, Temple of Doom, he experiences all of that. He goes into the pit. He comes out of it. Kalima! You know, he sees the stones burn through his bag. Therefore, we see it. In the third film, likewise, with the Grail and Donovan. That's it. Donovan drinking and making choosing poorly. He witnesses it, so we witness it. In Crystal Skull, Sparkov, I think her name is Sparko. Kate Blanchett's character,
Dr. Jones,
is alone in the chamber with the aliens and the creatures who share seemingly the Crystal Skull head. Why can we see what she's seeing? Why are we in that room as well? Because
the aliens looked like gummy bears, and that's your problem.
No. But it's not just about. But I think though on a, I mean, subconscious is too much of a stretch, but on a level that you don't really perceive.
No, I completely understand.
I think it breaks
saying. Yes,
it because Indy and Co are escaping at that point. They're nowhere near the action. It's the first time that we're seeing the
big reveal. The
big reveal, and in that sense, the MacGuffin and the purpose of the MacGuffin be exposed, and it being supernatural or science fiction in this case. and not having a reason to be in the room. And I didn't register that until years later. I mean, one of the other things that
Oh, yes, of course, because it was so awful, you blanked it from your brain.
well, I think so, because actually we went to a midnight showing, and
Oh,
we came
no.
out of that with
You're
people.
just standing there going, what happened?
No,
What?
no,
Did
no,
everybody
no,
see what I saw?
no, it's worse than that. We all came out of it going, yeah, that was all right.
No.
No, because we were trying. It's the
Everybody in my theater,
we were
we
in
saw it
denial.
opening weekend, and everybody was hysterical laughing. They
Right.
thought it was the worst thing that they'd
I mean,
ever seen. To the point that even South Park did a parody of it, going, "No, we all saw it. We knew it happened. No, it didn't happen. You can't tell me it happened."
Oh, God! Somebody do something! Why are they doing this?
I mean, there was one guy behind me as we were leaving who just go, "That was a load of shit, wasn't it?" So not everyone was in denial.
Classic.
But yeah, I think that, and then the other thing as well that bothers a few people who I've talked to about this is the fact, why on earth why do aliens who travel in the space between spaces, according to John Hurt, need to have a spaceship that churns up an entire valley, which apparently had people living in it, in order to disappear? Why can't it just whoop out of existence? So it's and these might sound like
because
nerdy.
the aliens are made of crystal and they have to.
Well, these might sound like nerdy things to be bringing up, but I guess
No, as I always tell people whenever I do seminars, is when you have a world and you have established the rules for that universe.
Yeah.
There's a very big difference between suspension of disbelief and then keeping established rules. And this is something that's been happening a lot with certain television shows on certain streaming channels where they establish rules in either the first episode of the first season, and then the second season comes along and suddenly they just completely wipe everything and the characters have no idea what they're doing. And the rules are completely different. And now you have completely lost the audience, because the audience, people who know the lore, are going, wait a minute, that's not it's again, if you establish something in the beginning, you are establishing the universe. And then if you then take that, so for example, if you take the refrigerator, then you go, wait a minute, if Indy is going to get crushed by a rock, there is no way he would have survived that refrigerator. Absolutely not. If you're telling me that he's not superhuman and that he would have gotten crushed by something that flings him, but he's fine after that that atomic blast.
So are you comparing the fridge to the boulder at the beginning of Raiders?
Or anything
Right.
really, anything. If you're telling me that he has no superhuman abilities in terms of his physicality, how is it? And he's always complaining that he's hurting, and why that wouldn't be.
No,
So.
okay, yeah, okay.
With regard to Dial of Destiny, I didn't watch it all the way through because it was so awful. But the beginning specifically, I understand why they did what they did. If you haven't seen it, I get it. You had to get that character out of there. But we didn't need that. We really didn't need to see Indy as a horrible old man going, turn that off, you dang kid. We know Indy is crotchety because he works in academia. We get it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't it just completely ruined his character.
Okay, interesting. I think you. Yeah, if we're going with the life, the canon life as presented, I do think that Dial of Destiny takes him further away from Indy and closer to Harrison Ford, possibly, than the character's ever been before. And in that sense, Harrison Ford loves subverting people's love of his characters, and I don't think it's because he's cruel or mean. I think he's quite cheeky in terms of how much people. There's that clip of him, someone handing him a Star Destroyer made out of Lego, and he goes, "Oh!" and he just sort of and then spills it on the floor for comedic effect. And I think
Go on, Mark, defend Dial of Destiny. Go on, do it.
Well, I can't. Well, in that sense, I don't. The problem with Dial of Destiny is I don't think it was ever necessary to tell that story.
No, we really did not need that story.
We didn't need it. No, and so I'm in that sense I'm happy to accept it as just part of this character's life. There are parts of it which which
I can see the diplomatic process breaking down in your cogwheels. Just going. I have to think of something good to say.
no, it's not that at all. The problem is that there are parts of it where I think they're trying too hard to course correct following Crystal Skull. So they're trying to go, here's a bit of Nazis on a train, let's fight them, you know. And instead of really having confidence in its own story, it gives you the member berries of Indy breaking into the castle, you know, and being also like, you know, I'm a Scottish lord, but instead So they were trying to course correct, and I can't defend it in terms of the need to tell the story, especially as well bringing in other academics who we've just simply never heard of because Marcus is dead and so on and so forth. But
Spoiler alert.
But it's not spoilers. People have seen. If people wanted to see it, they've seen it by now. But the one thing I would say is that I had the film spoiled for me in that sense before I went in. I knew what was going to happen at the end, and knowing what was going to happen at the end, knowing that he was going to. And if you are really bothered by this, then do turn off and go and watch it. So spoiler warning. Knowing that he was going to end up traveling back in time and meeting Archimedes and witnessing that siege where Archimedes' death ray apparently was deployed, according to legend. It didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I was really ready to be really angry. Like, fucking time travel? Seriously? Was that what we're doing there?
You know what? Time travel's better than the friggin' aliens at this point.
And that's the thing. It was better than the aliens, but also actually what I found was that Indy's reverence for the moment and his interaction with the character was very reminiscent of him meeting the Crusader in The Last Crusade. It was an interaction.
Let it go.
That was kind of heartfelt, actually. You know, it was kind of nice to see them. I mean, you said you didn't see the whole film, so maybe this is a spoiler for you.
I don't care.
So he bumps into Archimedes. He ends up leaving a wristwatch with him, seemingly, that ends up in Archimedes' tomb, which is weird. But I think for the character, and also actually, frankly, for us, you know, I imagine
The audience.
No, I mean specifically you and me, and people who study history and archaeology, and linguistic history, cultural history. That moment, that sort of fantasy moment of being able to sort of meet one of these people and just have a bit of a chat with them, was kind of nice, you know. And so, I don't. I mean, the worst part.
I have a question.
The worst part about the film.
What language does Indy speak when he speaks to him?
They're speaking ancient Greek.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, and actually, I can't remember if they, because it has been a while since I watched it. I can't remember if they dub it, if they actually speak it, or if it is. It's certainly clear that a third character is having to do some mental gymnastics to get around the language barrier. They're not speaking English to it. I mean, that's a weakness in The Last Crusade, actually, is the form of English that they speak. But the ultimate problem with the Dial of Destiny is it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to be made. And hopefully now. Okay, while we're on the topic, would you accept Chris Pratt as a reboot of Indiana Jones?
No. Stop it, Mark.
No.
Enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Indiana. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go, son. Yeah.
I understand. Like, I do understand the need or the want to continue the universe and the story. I think that's pretty cool. Make it somebody else in the Indiana Jones universe. So sort of the same thing where they're trying to do everything with James Bond, or they're trying to do everything with just pick a different person in that universe. You can continue stories in that universe, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you really want the world and you really want the franchise and you really want to continue the trademark, as they always want to do, just pick somebody else in that. And please to God, not Chris Pratt.
Do you know what's really weird about though this universe is, and I saw a video essay about this, so I'll link to it if I can find it on YouTube. Is the not only implication but the objective reality of God existing in the Indiana Jones universe. That is fascinating. If you consider the power of the Ark, the power of the cup of Christ.
Yeah, that's
Then
interesting. They do sometimes pick very religious coded objects. I mean, to be
yeah,
fair, did the Ark of the Covenant exist? Well, it's mentioned, for most important object for 500 years, and then it just literally disappears from the biblical record
mm,
completely. And to the point that in Yirmiyah or Jeremiah, I think it is in English, when they're like, "Oh, should we just make the Ark of the Covenant over again?" They go, "Nah, okay."
yeah. But as I say, in universe, it existed, and they found it,
Yeah.
and seemingly, okay. One, let's do this one as well. As well, we're here. What on earth do you make of what they were doing on that island with the Ark of the Covenant? Because like this whole thing of like,
Oh,
do you know
I
what
have
it is, Indy? It's a radio transmitter for talking to God.
I
And
haven't the
then
foggiest. I
Nazis
can't tell you.
setting up a Jewish ritual. Like, what were they
I
doing?
I cannot answer your question
No.
because according to the biblical text, it was the Ark of the Covenant was a moving aspect of Yahweh. It was a way for them to take God with them wherever they
Mm,
went when they were
mm.
going through. They used it as sort of like a passive weapon against. I mean, again, this is all biblical text. Passive weapon against some of
I like the way
the.
you said that. Yeah, sort of like a.
Now, what's that supposed to be coming out of there?
Lightning. Fire. Power of God or something.
Thing is that because they didn't like point it at people and it would. It
Yeah.
wasn't like that. It wasn't like Archimedes' heat ray. It was something that you were not supposed to touch it.
Yeah.
It was only, and then this is after the wandering period. It was only certain priests on certain days of the year, like Yom Kippur, who was allowed to enter the Holy of Holies and actually do something with it. We do not know what was inside the box. What's in the box, man? We don't know. We have no idea what was in the box. Some
Was it
people claim that.
Gwyneth Paltrow's head?
Plausible. Plausible. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Yeah.
But we don't know what was in the box. It was apparently made of acacia wood. It had cherubs on it, and some say it was empty and it was supposed to contain the essence of God. Some say that it was, that it had actual idols. Some people claim that it was like bull-headed idols that were in there to represent Yahweh or his earliest representations.
Yeah.
We do not know what was in the box, but in the text it does say that during their fight with the Pelishtim, they came, they touched it, they opened it, and they were suddenly covered in boils, and everybody died. And so then they cover it there, and so the Pelishtim said, "Get this thing out of here! We don't want it anymore." And so they covered it and took it away.
Okay.
And that is where they get the idea of like opening the box and like but there is this whole aspect of, oh, there's God's presence around the box, so if you're not supposed to touch it, you're not supposed to open it. What the Nazis were trying to do, I can't answer that question. Maybe they were trying to do like I don't know, because maybe the first temple, maybe they were trying to do like a sacrifice.
Yeah, but again,
Can't answer that.
given in universe the objective nature of the existence of God, apparently.
But to be
What-
fair, I think that's what the point of it is that the Nazis don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
They
okay.
think they're making this crazy occult ritual,
Yeah.
and they think that they're going to get God on their side or whatever it is. And then they do this, they bungle this horrific
No, but
ritual.
But I don't think it's even as simple as bungling the ritual. Like you are persecuting like the people who made this box and who, seemingly, and again, we're talking in this right now in a very abstract way about a fictional story.
Yes,
But-
this is a fictional universe.
Yeah. But it's fascinating that they thought that they could for a moment go, hey, look, I mean, just don't look over there. Can you help us? What did they think was going to happen? Yeah. Anyway, so
But
also-
you can clearly see that the Nazis in that story didn't read the biblical text because they would know you're not supposed to open the box. Or
Yeah,
you're not supposed to
yeah.
put your hand on it or touch it.
Do you know what? Do you know what? They did not see that coming.
All right, fine. I'll give you that one. Jesus Christ, that's fucking terrible. Oh my goodness, terrible. But yeah, I think that's the whole point, is that they're portraying Nazis as dummies who think, oh, I'm just going to use this in a magic occult ritual, and then of course
Is
they
it-
screw it up.
Is
and
it
that's,
is it the idea of supernatural being deployed as technology? Do you think
I think in general, yes,
this
because
idea that you can point it at something?
or that they do use very Christian charged objects. So, for example, the Holy Grail is a very Christian charged object, and so I would assume, and obviously completely made up. It was invented. It was invented in France, and it was originally a plate, and then eventually became a cup in the stories. But and then of course was meant to be connected to Christ and all that kind of a thing. But I think it's this idea that if you found those things, that they would have to be supernatural, or they would have to just like Archimedes' heat ray. They would have to be, even though there is no religious context of that at all. It's that supernatural aspect of it. I think, but when it comes to like the crystal skulls, I think the obviously the crystal skulls were all fake. We all know that, but the idea that, and we talked about this when we had our discussion with Howard, we talked about the crystal skulls and how it's a very rude thing indeed to assume that an indigenous culture could not make such a thing, or could not do that. And so I think Indiana Jones is sort of playing into this a little bit when it comes to the crystal skulls. Like, there is an indigenous culture, but they worshipped the aliens, and it was the aliens who really made the crystal skulls. You just go, do we need to? Like, come on, keep it with the silly supernatural stuff. Don't, like, because that's fun and campy and just ridiculous. They're feeding into that whole, like, I don't know. It's kind of it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, and it perpetuates certain stereotypes about indigenous cultures.
And ultimately, that word does actually describe both Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny. They are unnecessary. And one final thing I'll say about Crystal Skull.
The game is good. Play the game.
Yes. Yeah.
So you were saying actors who could play Indiana Jones. I mean, Troy Baker. I mean, obviously physically he does it, but I think he does a great D in the game.
He does.
I think he does a really good job.
Yeah. So the Great Circle is fantastic so far. I need to complete it. But the Crystal Skull, one thing I would say about it, beyond trying to defend it as anything to do with canon or the round of Indy's life or so on and so forth, the one thing I absolutely cannot defend is the weird Spielberg fever dream of having Mutt do a Tarzan swing through the jungle. That was mad. That was literally Spielberg going, I remember this when I was a kid. This is great. And it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they were trying to recapture lightning in a bottle. And clearly the relatively young men who made Raiders, that is to say men as in Spielberg and Lucas, and obviously the whole production team of men and women who worked on the films. But those guys who came up with the idea, who wanted to shoot it in a fun, exciting, slightly sort of running, guerrilla almost at times special effects, were clearly having such a laugh. Like Spielberg famously was loving chucking more spiders on people or more snakes. It's very boyish, That when it came to making the older films or the more recent films, they're not those people anymore. Everyone's changed, and the world has changed, and you can't recreate it.
I will say that we had the first 3 films, and then I think they should have stopped. But obviously, the game is great. But a series that took up the cup of the original spirit of Indiana Jones, that did it, I think, better, was The Mummy.
Mummy 1, yes. Mummy 2,
And 2.
2
And 2.
just about.
Yeah. Well, we won't talk about Scorpion King. That and I actually didn't remember that there was a new one.
Do you know what?
Because
We walked out of that one. We
I can't believe you paid money for that.
No, well, but because we were such big fans, we went to see it.
No.
And
If
when
it's not Brendan Fraser, I'm not interested. But
no, Brendan Fraser
he
was
would've been
in it, but it was Rachel Weisz. Weisz wasn't there, so she was recast as librarian and proud.
Which one was this one?
I can't remember what it's called now.
This is not the Tom Cruise one.
The Emperor's Tomb, was it? No, not the Tom Cruise one. No. There was a third. You see, you've completely erased this from your brain. There was a third Mummy movie set on the Great Wall of China. It features the Great Wall of China, but set in and around the excavation of the Terracotta Army, etc.
Was it called Rebirth?
No. Jet Li played the Emperor of China.
Oh.
And,
okay, maybe I do remember this.
Yeah, and Evie.
The Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
There we go. Yeah. Evie's brother. I forgot what his name is now. The Scottish actor. He's in it as well.
Okay.
And also as well, someone playing their son, but now as an American young man, as opposed to the weird, cheeky British.
This one was done.
child from the
Okay, no,
second
I've
movie.
never seen this one. This one was done much later. I don't consider
It was
this.
horrendous. It was
I know,
horrendous.
'cause-
And
Okay.
and we walked out when we realised that that we just didn't care about anything that was happening on screen. So there was a point when I think aircraft are shooting at an undead army, which is sort of like a terracotta army or something, and it was all CG. Nothing on the screen was remotely at all real. There wasn't even the main character in shot, and we just went, what are we doing here? Like
I stopped at Scorpion King because the CG was too much, and I just stopped. But the first two films,
I quite like
which is
Scorpion
in my brain, that's fine. You can like it.
yeah.
But in my brain, the first two films are the only canon. But especially the first one, this is a perfect aspect of the Indiana Jones nature, where you have the adventurer archaeologist, also possibly Tomb Raider, adventure archaeologist, and then you have somebody else who is the maybe smarter companion, and it's a mixture of supernatural, comedy, etc. Because like their archaeological object is the Book of Thoth, the Book of the Dead, right? And and again, it had the supernatural nature. You had the crazy magic. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I think that if they had just again stuck with that formula, it would have been fine. And then they did this. They went the same way as Indiana Jones, where they just too far into the CG, too far into the we didn't need this story, and that's that. So.
And arguably, as is the story of Hollywood at the moment. All of this started with me attempting to defend the indefensible. So let's wish everyone at home a very Merry Christmas. No.
That's how long it took to do this episode. Yeah. It's Christmas.
It's Christmas time already. No, seriously. So we'll wrap up that conversation. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any opinions on Indiana Jones or The Mummy or Lara Croft even, do comment below. If there was some spicy opinion, we'll comment maybe in a future video, perhaps. That could make an interesting
Games are only canon with Tomb Raider.
Yes. Oh, that's... Oh!
It's my feeling.
Ooh!
Sorry.
Okay. Well,
I feel like the film should be a completely separate
yeah
thing, because it's the same thing with Tomb Raider. There's a specific supernatural object that she's often trying to get, or something supernatural happens. But I don't feel that any of the films, even the decent ones, have really done that very well at all.
Okay. Well, I think we'll have to return to that. But until next time, everyone at home, do take care. Bye-bye.